Hey everybody, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Quan Kongs and guest.
Jacob from Czech Republic,
There we
which
go.
is in the middle of Europe.
We're talking another fan film right now. A brand new, came out of nowhere fan film, possibly a fan film set. It's kind of exciting. Stuart, you've seen this vaguely. Have you got any thoughts before you turn it over to the guy who brought in? What do you think?
Honestly, I'm super impressed. I didn't know much about it, so I looked into it, and the amount of work you guys have done just on building an entire bridge set and just your makeup and costumes, it's all fantastic. So kudos to you guys. I love that you've actually built a physical bridge.
Thank you.
So I guess first question is, why are you this insane? Because a lot of work. I mean, you can see the amount of hours. Just see it on screen.
I'd say we're quite different than some Trekkies. We really like everything on spot, and it all comes out of our background and knowledge and stuff. Because some of the people are not professionals, but working in the industry. Like for example, the guy who does our makeup. He works on some Hollywood productions as well. So we really want to make it as good as possible and to get as close to real Star Trek as possible. So that's why we did that. And with the bridge, it was a decision which came like in 2014, I think, with three other friends when we decided, let's do it. We didn't know what we were getting us into. It was crazy, the amount of work and the amount of money, and you can imagine all that. So
How did this whole thing get started? This Star Trek Squadron, and how many films have you done? Tell us a little about the history of all this.
there's a movie about it's an old American movie called 12 Mad Men, 12 Mad Men. It's black and white actually. So we did that in a Star Trekky way. So we printed it's set on DS9. So we printed everything on big posters, like on billboard posters, and we kind of made the room look like one big set from DS9. It was all just posters, and we filmed this movie, and that was kind of the beginning. And we were like, okay, let's move forward. So then we started with Star Trek Diplomacy, which was based on an English TV series. Yes, Prime Minister. You probably know it, Samuel. Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't a good decision because It's crap. It's I don't mean it in a bad way. It's not crap, but it's so old, and the humor and everything, and the static camera and everything.
It's so much. It's well in comparison to what you can do now. I mean, there's still fan films today that are producing on a very simple level. So
we made, I think, about two episodes, and in the middle of the second episode, the new CBS guidelines came, so we had to decide what to do. So we had two other episodes in post-production, or in production. So we kind of did four episodes and left it behind. And also with that, kind of the production group, which was working on that, split in two. So we were four friends at the beginning. Now we're two and two friends.
And did you know you wanted to go this full on? I mean, you set a high bar with the amount of makeup, the amount of props, the amount of costumes. Was that always like, we want this level, or did you kind of feature creep, the Star Citizen thing, where every year we want to do a bit more, we can do a bit more.
No. From the beginning, we were like, we want to do full on, there was no compromise. We didn't want it to do just something in between. We wanted to do fan film on as professional level as possible. So
well, I mean, one thing that stands out to me, and I know for my film Convergence, the costume quality. If you can get costumes looking amazing, you can cover up a lot of other things because it just feels like someone on screen. But these things that some people already had.
I actually went that far that I purchased some screen used uniforms, and to make them 99% accurate.
Speaking of just the overall look, I mean, you got a lot of prosthetics, you got a lot of you got some Jem'Hadar and some other things. Do you have to recreate those pieces each time? Do you use one ongoing? What about damage to the prosthetics? How is that all taken care of?
Yeah, well, I'm not the prosthetic guy. That's my friend Karel, which is amazing. His hands are golden. He does all the props and all this. Most of them are just for one use. When we worked on Diplomacy, I used to play a big blue alien, and the head, it was so heavy, and that's 5 years ago, so the materials and everything we were using weren't as great. So after let's say 12 hours in the makeup, your ears were swell, your nose, I had actually blood here because it was crushing my nose, and you had to peel it. Oh, it was terrible. But now with the new materials and everything, it's pretty much for one use only. I think that the Jem'Hadar masks were for more uses, but like, the guys was crazy. Like, it took 4 hours to get into the makeup for, let's say, few seconds of shooting. Yeah, it's about a rear admiral, which is promoted. He's promoted to rear admiral, and he's giving a command of 4 ships, a squadron of ships, and those 4 ships are same class. The captain of the main ship isn't really happy about having another commander on the bridge, so that's one kind of issue.
Channeling a little bit of motion picture then.
One of the Vorta, she hijacks one of the ships, and that's where all the fun begins. It's set in the middle of the war with Dominion, so it's in the peak of that. So that's not many movies were filmed in that era.
Now you say it's a squadron of 4 ships, all the same class, I assume.
Yeah.
And that would be that right there, the Norway.
Yeah.
The flat one.
The reason why we did that is, but that we don't have more bridges, so we had to change the colors and stuff and change the crew, and also maybe a little insight, that's why we did the bridge. How do you come out with bridge which is our own and no one's seen it, so that's why we kind of picked this ship,
But I mean, do you like the ship? I mean, it is a weird one. It is no Sovereign nor Galaxy. It is the Norway.
Well, honestly, as a ship guy, it's great to see one of the lesser known ships kind of taking the center stage. So anything like that makes me happy. So that's great that you chose that one.
And you know that it'll have a beautiful life, don't you? Yes, you do, because we have one announcement to make, and that the CGI for our movie, at least for one part of it, will be done by Sam.
I'll definitely put this on a green screen and just go, that's the level of effect you want to. Yes, no, I'm very happy to be joining. I mean, it's so interesting anyway, I sort of offered regardless. But no, there's some cool stuff, and we'll talk about the our model at the end, because there's more about you guys first. There's a lot of commitment in this project, and having had behind the scenes discussions. It is worth saying it is on Indiegogo right now, the crowdfunding platform. We didn't have to mention that up front because it's such a high quality production. If you want to see it achieve, now you're suckered in by the quality, you can go search it. The link in the description below. It's so worth anything you can give, because this is almost a seed money to finish one and do another and to build more. And the more you can support, the more they can make, and clearly have all of the raw materials ready to go. It's just the time and money to create more stories in the world, and we all want more. We wanted to do another kind of big movie, but that being said, we kind of decided to go on a smaller scale, but go fully in English, because it seems it's an issue, even if we try the subtitles and voiceovering and stuff. So the next project, which we currently working on, will be closed story, let's say short, maybe full in English, and I'd say it's going to be amazing, and maybe it'll be different experience, than doing a big production like that with 35 people. This will be small with 10 people. We want to set it in a different era of we'll have Voyager era uniforms, screen accurate, same bridge, obviously, but it'll be more contained story. It costs a lot of money, even to feed people, even if they do it for free, to get CGI for free is. Well, we've talked about this often, you and me, Stuart, that Wrath of Khan, it's 2 bridges redressed for most of the film. It's the acting. It's the lighting. It's that stuff that pulls over, and
You're taking my words out of my mouth, because I totally agree with the Wrath of Khan. It's a self-contained story on 2 bridges, one station and one planet, and that's it.
Is there any highlights of the design process of the bridge? Was there anything you actually considered while doing it? Because it's quite a big thing to design a Federation bridge. I don't know if that was you in particular, but I'm sure you talked to them that were doing it.
My friend Carl, he was the main guy on the bridge. I have actually some numbers here which you might be interested in, so I'm going to tell you. And then my friend Michal, who's playing actually in Squadron, he's the Admiral Nansen, because we were limited by the space. It's not a huge space like Axanar has. It's one room. Well, yeah, it's a bigger room, but half of it is filled with the bridge, so you cannot get behind the walls. Then there were some kind of rough sketches done, and some small wooden model, and then we started designing it, and I send you some of the designs so people can see it, and all that Michal did, all the L-cars, everything was handmade, I mean, for us it was the bridge cost was around 20K. which
Wow.
20K USD. It was over 3,130 man hours worked on that. My friend Carol, as I mentioned, spent 768 hours on it. We traveled 30,000 kilometers, and over 2015, 69 days were spent building that.
And it's one of those things that it's fair to say you guys kind of shot onto the scene with very little fanfare. We didn't, the wider audience didn't know about you guys, but you spent all this time preparing, building for that moment when suddenly you come out and people are like, oh, hot damn. But it took that many years, that much commitment.
My next question is, you said the next one is going to be an English version. So the other ones weren't. So are they subtitled? Are they dubbed? And what are the challenges that you're going to have creating an all English one?
Well, they are all subtitled. Now, our idea was if we overachieve the campaign, which is probably not going to happen, let's face it, we would get some English-speaking actors, and just do it like, with a professional voiceover. If we kind of have some time, we might do it in English with our voices, which I'm not sure, if it's that interesting for the audience. Maybe the subtitles are better. And the probably the biggest challenge with the next project is that, for example, if you want to do a big project, to get 10 English-speaking Trekkies, with a decent accent is really hard. If we'll do 3 people short, it's not a big problem, to get as many people. So yeah, we're gonna do like short story, 3 people, completely different something.
Well, then it's worth asking. So our audience is primarily American, English, Canadian, all first language. You're speaking brilliant English, no problem there. But how much is then the English culture of the language in your country? I mean, it's not the default. That's not the everyday thing. So
well, I'd say now with the younger audience, it's like nearly 90% or something. With the older audience, it wouldn't be that bad. But like, for example, when there was Comic-Con, or some actors from Star Trek came to Czech Republic, it had to be translated because so many people didn't know English. So it is a little bit limiting for people. But honestly, Czech market, it's so small. It's 10 million people here. So I would rather do something really big, for the whole world in English than to concentrate only on Czech, which the other fun films did. And with Squadron, we knew we want to go and show it to the world. There was known from the beginning. It was never a Czech project, never ever
So yeah, as we've already said, huzzah, I'm on the project, and as you guys might know, I tend to bring a certain level of enthusiasm. When we got talking about this Norway class, I went back and looked. I have Eaglemoss model, which, prints out beautifully, but for me is lacking in some CG ways. You guys had your own model, which looked beautiful, but instantly there was details that I was seeing that was missing. So I sort of took the approach of let's make almost a hybrid, but also bring it to the logical level where the ship should be. None of the other versions have RCS thrusters. That's a need to have RCS thrusters. The phaser strips on this existing model are literally of no detail, and they're weirdly placed because on the Eaglemoss one, for some reason, they're like very tiny multiple strips, but that's not a thing any ship does. And so instantly I started to redesign little things, trying to add a bit more functional logic, especially while we talked, it's not a warship, it's a ship for combat in the sense that it can hold up, whereas mini phaser strips doesn't necessarily equate to that. I also tweaked the deflector and some other details and added the, as you know, we did Horizon, and you realize what is needed. Things like transporter emitters, the yellow stripes. You need tractor beam emitters. You need enough escape pods. You need all these things that should already be there, and they're kind of lacking in the other models. And so just by adding the functional elements, it starts to up-detail it. Add torpedo launchers. Neither of the other 2 versions, yours or Eaglemoss, had torpedo launchers. And it's like, I think you're going to want me to fire torpedoes at some point. So, designing in things that should obviously be there that just weren't. That was kind of my process. And I think once all that is put together, it'll feel more full, because it is more full, literally.
Wow. It's interesting. It sounds, I'm speechless.
Yeah, I'm always impressed when I hear how you guys actually add the detail and stuff to these models. So,
I mean, if it's the hero mesh that is 4 different ships and a future film, it needs to have every detail. And I'll go as far as to actually put the actual inner Bassard tubes inside the Bassard, so that you have those 2 levels of lighting. I think you actually see it subtly already. It's very subtle, but it will have internal lighting with internal lighting. So it's not just, this one thing that you learn. The original miniature of, say, Voyager and Enterprise D had a certain feel with the basards and the grills of the warp grills. The material themselves aren't generating light because they could never have been done that way. There was physical bulbs inside generating light, and those have gradients, they have fall-offs. That sort of thing you can't fake as well in CG if you just use a texture map to tell the object to be glowing, because it won't have that natural fall-off. So instead of just telling the basards to glow red, you make them red and you put lights inside them, which then create, and you tweak it so you make the effect of it glowing. But now it takes more time to render, but it looks more real, and those subtleties do, I think, add up. Are these projects, as you step forward, going to be more using the universe rather than inventing to the universe? If you're going to make another story, you'll put, again, in the Dominion War or some other such, where you use existing ships rather than saying, right, we need a new villain, and they've got new ships and new designs. You'd rather use the existing things to kind of add this big fleet feel or alien feel. Like, you'd rather use a Klingon than a new alien because you have all this legacy that comes with it. Is that sort of mindset you have?
Yeah, well, the new story, it's really contained, so there not gonna be any huge FX makeup. There's not gonna be as much CGI as in Squadron, and it's gonna be like existing space. It's gonna be in the Voyager era, so a little bit earlier than that, and it's just gonna be really self-contained. And what's gonna be after, I really don't know. We spoke with Alec Peters that we might kind of do a joint project. So maybe some crossover, we don't know yet. Like, it's gonna be, we really have to, use whatever we have, like, and build, and as I said, we split into two productions, so we're not as involved in the bridge as we were. We are thinking about building another bridge for kind of a different usage as well, but really that's in the stars, like, so we don't know yet.
Well, my question about that is, you said, I remember you saying in one of your behind the scenes that the bridge had to be confined to a certain area, so it was a lot smaller than you anticipated. If you're building another one, do you have a bigger area or just kind of the same space?
We are thinking, like, that the new bridge is going to be like fully removable. So you can take it, put it in the container and ship it wherever you want. And it's going to be completely different. Like, it's going to, because this bridge is made out of wood. Most of it is wood. The new bridge, metal, no LCARs as it's now, more kind of TV screens and stuff, different fabrics, like, they're like the seats, you see on the bridge are we made them. We made the seats itself, like, we would probably use a good looking car seats, and adjust them. So it would be more like Enterprise E-bridge. I mean, in terms of colors and stuff, we haven't decided yet on the class. That's where we were kind of thinking, but like for this project, we would be thinking going, like, maybe to Comic Cons with it and to some fan stuff. That's the approach, because honestly, like, if we're doing something like that again, it has to bring back some money, or at least return itself. Like, we already spent so much money on that we need at least, to get something back, like, with a new project. We take the first one as okay, the bridge, we build it, it's done. No worries there. That's why our Indiegogo campaign is focused on producing the new movie rather than, helping us, cover previous costs. Yeah. So if there will be new bridge, and I hope it will, it has to make sense.
But then to end out, why don't you just give one last sort of pitch as to why people should give this Indiegogo? There's quite a few days left, so hopefully people will see this throughout the month and want to give. But why should people give? What's the sort of main reason or main reasons?
Because we're awesome. No, honestly, I think it's the quality of the fan film will be on a great level, and I think that people will enjoy something new from a different perspective, something which is not from English-speaking people, so it might be a good difference as well. And it's just awesome, like, and it'll have
not TOS era. It's not TOS era.
Yeah, of course. Also, it's not TOS era, like, So they might see aliens which they've never seen in a fan film before, like. So maybe that's a good pitch as well. And we have really sexy Vorta. She's so sexy. Yeah. Now the CGI is going to be awesome. Like, we really hope that this movie will be great. And I think that the quality will be on a top level. And if we'll achieve that, we're happy with it. And, and I hope that people will be happy with it as well.
And the campaign ends first-ish week of March, so you've got some time, guys. Please do go take a look. And even if you don't want a perk, just put in $10, because those things do mount up very, very quickly. Really
every dollar really means a lot for us, like, and it's all going to be spent again, like, everything we make is going back into the project. There's nothing left for us, like, we take it as an investment. So
I want to thank you for joining us, because until Samuel told me that we were going to be talking to you, hadn't heard about you guys, but then I checked it out last night, and I was really impressed. So, and it was great to meet you, and I'm looking forward to a lot more. So, same with everybody out there. I mean, check it out. It's worth looking at and seeing the quality that they're putting into it and the time and the effort, because they're doing an amazing job. So, if you want to help them out with Indiegogo, please.
And if you actually love the Norway, like, seriously, when we finish this Norway, it'll be the best Norway ever made in CGI. That's worth seeing. I want to see it, and I'm the one doing it. So if you want to see Norway, do, just for that. It's going to do some cool things, I hope.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, and I hope to talk to you soon, and I wish you all the best with the Indiegogo and any future productions. So,
thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, so until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Calkins, and he is...
Jacob from Czech Republic.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.